How sperm is created. Right now, inside the male body, a factory is running that never sleeps, never takes a break, and never stops producing, and what it makes is the single most important cell in the continuation of the human species. Here is the part that will shock you before we even begin. The entire process, from nothing to a fully formed, swimming, DNA-carrying cell, takes exactly 72 days. And if anything goes wrong at any single point during those 72 days, the cell is destroyed. No second chances. No do-overs. Stay with me. What happens inside the human body to create a single sperm cell is one of the most incredible biological stories you have ever heard. Now let us set the scene. The male reproductive system looks simple on the outside. But the moment you zoom in, the moment you go past the surface, it becomes something almost impossible to believe. At the center of all of this is a structure called the testis. Inside it, coiled up like a hidden maze, are tiny tubes so small you would need a microscope to see them. Hundreds of them. Packed so tightly together that if you uncoiled all of them from a single testis and stretched them out, they would run for almost half a kilometer. Half a kilometer. Inside something the size of a golf ball. Those tubes are called seminiferous tubules. And they are where everything begins. So what kicks off the process? Who gives the order to start? It begins in the brain. Deep inside the brain, in a region called the hypothalamus, a signal is released, a tiny chemical messenger that travels down to a small structure hanging just beneath the brain called the pituitary gland. When that signal arrives, the pituitary gland wakes up and releases two hormones of its own, FSH and LH, that travel through the bloodstream all the way down to the testes. Think about that. The instructions for making sperm start in your brain. Your brain is running the factory. It is sending orders through your blood, through your entire body, down to these tiny coiled tubes, and saying, begin. When FSH arrives at the seminiferous tubules, it activates special cells called Sertoli cells. These are not ordinary cells. They are the nurses of the sperm factory. They feed developing sperm. They protect them. They guide them. Without Sertoli cells, nothing gets made. Nothing survives. At the same time, LH travels to a different group of cells sitting just outside the tubules, the Leydig cells, and Leydig cells do one thing, they produce testosterone. The hormone that fuels everything that comes next. Now the factory is running. Now the real process can begin. Inside the walls of those seminiferous tubules are cells called spermatogonia. These are the stem cells. The raw material. The starting point of every single sperm cell ever made. These spermatogonia divide. One cell becomes two. Two become four. But here is where it gets genuinely strange, and this is the moment where most biology classes stop telling the story. Every human cell contains 46 chromosomes. But a sperm cell cannot carry 46. If it did, and it merged with an egg cell that also carried 46, the resulting embryo would have 92 chromosomes and could not survive. So the body does something remarkable. It splits the chromosomes in half. The dividing cells go through a special process called meiosis, a kind of division that only happens in reproductive cells. During meiosis, each cell cuts its chromosome count from 46 down to 23. Perfectly. Precisely. So that when sperm meets egg, the numbers combine back to the correct 46. But here is what nobody tells you about meiosis. Before the chromosomes separate, they reach across to each other and swap sections. Randomly. Pieces of your father's DNA and your mother's DNA literally cross over and exchange fragments. This is called genetic recombination. And it is the reason why no two sperm cells are genetically identical, not even from the same person. Every single sperm cell your body produces carries a slightly different version of your genetic code. You are not producing copies. You are producing variations. Millions of unique, never-before-seen genetic combinations every single day. After meiosis is complete, the cell that remains is called a spermatid. And a spermatid does not look anything like a sperm yet. It is round. It is simple. It has a nucleus full of DNA, but nothing else a sperm needs. What happens next is one of the most dramatic physical transformations in all of biology. The nucleus condenses. It compacts itself so tightly it becomes almost crystalline. Then it stretches and elongates into the distinctive oval head shape you recognize as the head of a sperm cell. It has to be this small, this compact, because this cell needs to move fast. Any excess size is a liability. Then, at the very front of the head, a specialized structure forms called the acrosome. Think of it as a chemical weapon, a tiny capsule packed with enzymes the sperm will need to break through the outer layer of an egg. Without the acrosome, the sperm can swim all it wants. It will never get inside. Then comes the most impressive part. A tail forms. A long, whip-like structure called a flagellum. And to power this tail, the cell builds a band of mitochondria, the energy-producing engines of the cell, wrapping them around the base of the tail like a motor ring. These mitochondria will burn energy constantly to drive the sperm forward. The round, helpless spermatid is gone. In its place is a fully formed sperm cell. Head, midpiece, tail. A precision-engineered biological machine. All of it guided, protected, and nourished by those Sertoli cells, holding the developing sperm close, feeding them, shielding them from the immune system, which would otherwise recognize them as foreign invaders and destroy them on the spot. But the sperm is still not finished. When sperm cells leave the seminiferous tubules, they still cannot swim. They are physically complete, but functionally useless. No movement. No direction. No ability to do anything. They enter a tightly coiled tube wrapped around the back of the testis called the epididymis. And the epididymis is where sperm spend the final stage of their development, 2 to 3 weeks, slowly traveling through its coiled length while surrounding cells complete their education. Yes, education. The sperm has to learn how to move. It has to develop motility, the actual ability to swim, and receive surface proteins that allow it to recognize and bind to an egg when the time comes. The epididymis is 12 feet long. 12 feet of coiled tube, packed into a space smaller than your thumbnail. And every sperm has to travel all 12 feet before it is considered ready. Only when a sperm completes that journey is it truly mature. Only then is it capable of doing what it was built to do. Now here is the moment most people never expect. The human male body produces approximately 1,500 sperm cells every single second. Every second. By the time you finish watching this video, millions of new sperm cells will have been created inside the male body. But of all those millions produced, the overwhelming majority never make it. Defective shape. Wrong DNA. Poor motility. The body destroys them without hesitation. The ones that survive are stored, and if they are not released, they are broken down and reabsorbed. Every molecule recycled. Nothing wasted. And the entire process, from stem cell to mature sperm, takes exactly 72 days. 72 days of precise, uninterrupted, perfectly coordinated biological engineering happening inside the body right now, at this very moment, without you thinking about it, without you controlling it, without you even being aware of it. So the next time you think about life beginning in a single moment, remember that the preparation for that moment started 72 days before it happened. It started in the brain. Hormones carried the message through the blood. Cells transformed themselves from round and simple into precision machines. DNA was shuffled, recombined, and packed into a structure so small it is invisible to the naked eye. And remember this, the sperm cell has one job. One destination. One purpose. And to reach it, it must survive an environment so hostile, so acidic, so physically demanding, that out of 300 million that begin the journey, typically only one will finish. 1. What happens to that one sperm when it finally reaches the egg? What triggers the moment of fertilization, and what does the egg actually do when it detects the sperm approaching? That is a story for another video. And trust me, it is just as remarkable as this one. If this blew your mind, drop a comment below and tell me which part surprised you most. Was it the 72 days? The genetic recombination? The 12 feet of epididymis packed into a space smaller than your thumbnail? And if you have not subscribed yet, every week we go inside the human body and come back with stories exactly like this one. Hit subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.